Hi, and welcome back to Extra Extra, your weekly LGBTQIA+ news roundup in which I serve you all the tea so that you don't have to do the deep diving yourself. This is the second of two videos where I'll be taking you from culture through business and sports, and I'll be finishing off, as always, with our award segment at the very end with the slay and also the ew of the week. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Peacock have dropped the trailer for their new polyamorous dating show, Couple to Throuple, in which 4 couples get to invite open-minded and or previously experienced singles to join their existing couple as a third member.
For the next month, 4 curious couples will be given the unique opportunity to turn that fantasy into a reality.
I've never been on a date with 3 people. You know what I'm saying?
Me either.
I'm bisexual, and he's more of a don't knock it till you try sexual.
Yeah.
Is kind of like our first time dating as a couple.
You make a good team. Let's go.
Something of positive note is that the contestants and the host of this show are joined by sex and health expert and therapist Shamira Howard to help guide the contestants through this experience, through feelings of jealousy and hurt and betrayal and all of the things that bubble up when you open up your previously monogamous relationship.
They'll be helped along the way by an expert.
Jealousy relates to a person detecting a threat.
I'll see you two bonding without me, and it's like, ooh.
Have you done something alone with him?
What I'm saying is that why wasn't it a group decision?
Seeing the trailer, I have mixed feelings because I don't want polyamory to be sensationalized, and I think there's a big risk of the focus of this show becoming overly sexual.
With a bed big enough for 3. Y'all all right in there?
Which is already the prejudice that many people have against polyamory, is that people are only in it for the sex and they get to be sexually promiscuous without repercussions, and that really is just like everyone cheating on each other and lying to themselves, which is not the case. Polyamory, true polyamory, takes a lot of communication and honesty and care and empathy and work and time. I mean, anyone who's been in a long-term relationship knows that it's not really about the sex, or at least not predominantly about the sex. Relationships are so much more than that. And true polyamory is having fully fledged relationships with multiple people.
Oh.
All this to say, there's so much more about polyamorous relationship than sex, but we've all seen these dating show formats like Love Island and Too Hot to Handle, which all focus a lot on the sexual chemistry between contestants, and so I'm a little bit apprehensive about how this show is going to handle that.
Open-minded singles to throuple up with them in the resort.
But on the other hand, polyamory getting shown on TV is important and is part of normalizing it and of bringing it into the public eye. And I hope that people have the ability to recognize that, in a way, it's no different from Love Island and Too Hot to Handle, in which singles match up in pairings, often for only a day or two, to explore that person, and then a lot of the time they get bored. A lot of people struggle to commit to one person, which is also exemplified in all of these shows. And so I hope that maybe it'll help audiences realize that poly people aren't any more or less promiscuous than the average monogamous person. Either way, I think it's great that this format, this queer-friendly format, is being explored, and also want to commend Peacock for the ethnic diversity in this cast, because we all know that Love Island, for example, has a history of being very white and also obviously very heterosexual. Yeah. So yeah, the first episode premieres on Peacock on the 8th of February, and I'm curious. And with that said, let's move on to business. This is in the business segment because I wasn't quite sure where else to put it. Elon Musk has once again tweeted that cis is a heterophobic term and shame on all of you who use it. This is an almost exact copy of another tweet that he put out there in October of last year.
Why are you the way that you are?
And it's not only problematic because obviously he's using his ginormous platform to spread hate, but it's also false. Gender and sexuality are two separate things.
Yeah.
Heterosexual is a sexual orientation, and cis is used to describe a person's gender. The two are unrelated, and so the statement in and of itself makes no sense.
You're ignorant.
But to address the idea that it's a derogatory term in any way, the words cis and trans are Latin prefixes, with trans meaning across from or on the other side from, for example, transatlantic, and cis meaning on this side of. Just because cis is a prefix that we use less often than trans doesn't make it derogatory. It's just the pendant to trans. And according to the Cambridge Dictionary, cisgender is a term used to describe a person whose gender matches the body they were born in. Meaning my gender is on this side of my biological sex, versus a person who is transgender whose gender is on that side of their biological sex. Quite simple, really, but clearly too difficult a concept for Elon to grasp.
Disappointing.
And also it's worth mentioning that even though the term cis and cisgender has gained more traction recently, it's actually a term that medical professionals have been using since the 1990s. The one category this week that we have predominantly negative talking points in.
I'm just trying to figure out why you're sabotaging things.
So I want to start us off with the good thing that happened. Vietnamese women's national football team player, that was a mouthful, Tran T2, has recently married her female partner, which is noteworthy for two reasons. One, Vietnam only recently, in 2022, officially declared homosexuality not a disease. Archaic, I know. And two, Tran T2, as a national women's team footballer, has a really big platform and makes headlines. And so this is a very public thing for her to do in a country that has a very recent history of official homophobia.
Ew.
This is the first time a female Vietnamese footballer has married a member of the same sex. And side note, obviously, in Vietnam, there is no marriage equality, seeing as they only just declared homosexuality not a disease. But in the southern part of the country, symbolic marriages or blessings are legal. And that is what the two women have done. Congratulations to Tran T2 and her wife. I highly commend their courage to make such a public statement in this way, even though being homosexual and marrying your partner shouldn't be a statement, but in this context, it is. Hey, this is the halfway point of this week's video, and I'm just here to let you know that if you're enjoying this content, it would mean the world to me if you liked this video and subscribed to my channel, maybe tell a friend about me. Let's get back to the video. Right, on to the not so good news. The Spanish Super Cups semi-finale and finale are going to take place in Saudi Arabia. And the FC Barcelona has recently issued an official statement warning fans who plan to travel to Saudi Arabia for these events of many problematic things to watch out for when in Saudi Arabia. This statement warns that anyone planning on traveling to Saudi Arabia should be especially cautious because there are severe criminal sentences for actions like buying, selling, or consuming alcohol or pork, or participating in political rallies, demonstrations, and mass gatherings, or even public displays of affection, which to us might be really normal. For example, kissing your partner on the mouth in public, even if it is just a peck, you can be charged for. Not to mention that homosexuality is punishable by death in Saudi Arabia. The reason I want to talk about this is not so much to criticize the FC Barcelona, but to criticize FIFA for giving Saudi Arabia the platform of hosting these international football events that are attended and watched by millions upon millions of people around the world, especially in the light of Saudi Arabia also having been announced as the host of the 2032 FIFA World Cup. Aside from their horrific stance on LGBT rights, Saudi Arabia also has a very poor human rights record in general. And also, as I've said in a previous video where I actually talked about Saudi Arabia being announced as the host of the 2032 World Cup, Saudi Arabia is one of the countries with the highest ratio of modern-day slavery as well, meaning that all of the stadiums, all of the infrastructure that have to be built in anticipation of this event in 8 years from now will be done largely by people who find themselves in slavery arrangements.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
And FIFA is enabling these power dynamics and this injustice by giving Saudi Arabia this platform. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight how severely problematic that is for not only reasons pertaining the LGBT community, but also general human rights violations.
No, God!
And what is queer news without a sprinkle of transphobia? World Athletics boss Sebastian Coe has issued a problematic statement on trans inclusion in sports. Basically, World Athletics, like many other sporting bodies recently, have issued bans on especially trans women competing in women's categories among elite sporting events. But in a recent statement, Sebastian Coe has said that he doesn't think that the same stance should be adopted in amateur sporting events and in local sporting events. The truly problematic part of his statement is that he doubled down on the notion that trans women have a physiological advantage over cis women, which is not necessarily true, as recent studies have shown that trans women, whether or not they've previously undergone a male puberty, if they've been on hormonal replacement therapy for a certain amount of time, those effects can actually be reversed, and that other factors leading up to sporting competitions, such as an athlete's nutrition and training schedule, have a much greater impact on that athlete's performance than anything else.
Yeah.
Coe, however, used his 4 children, 2 of which are boys and 2 of which are girls, as examples, saying that before puberty, the girls would kick the boys' ass, and then after puberty, there was no chance that the girls were going to win in a physical fight. On like an average scale amongst the average population, that may be true, but once again, it completely disregards the effects that hormonal replacement therapy have. But it also, to me, seems a very misogynistic statement, because it very much depends on the sport, it very much depends on the woman, and somebody who's the head of a worldwide sporting association should know that you can't compare average children to elite athletes. And in that same statement, Sebastian Coe has also said that it is his duty to uphold the integrity of women's sporting events, and if he lets trans women compete, no woman will ever win a medal again, which is so problematic for so many reasons. For one, trans women are women. So if they win medals, a woman will be winning a medal. Thank you. But also, basically what he's saying is that a body that is biologically male will always win against a body that is biologically female in any sporting event ever, which is pure misogyny. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's just so misogynistic.
Groundbreaking.
Anyway. One positive aspect about this whole thing is that he has admitted that more evidence is needed in order to really come to any conclusions about this, which is rich, seeing as he's just made a bunch of unfounded conclusions. But positive takeaway is that there will hopefully be more research done into how much of an issue trans athletes actually are. I've just filmed both of those videos back to back, and I feel like I've done a lot of talking, but I don't want to leave you before having given out our awards. As always, we've got the Slay and the Ew of the week to give out, both of which, excitingly, go to football-related talking points. Let's start with the Ew of the week so that we can end on a positive note. The Ew of the week goes to, once again, FIFA for endorsing Saudi Arabia for all the aforementioned reasons. Human rights violations, extreme homophobia punishable by death, misogynistic anti-women stances and laws, slavery. No! All of these things being indirectly endorsed and promoted and supported by giving Saudi Arabia the privilege, the platform, the massive advertising board that is hosting the FIFA World Cup and other related sporting events. Ew. But in better news, the Slay of the week goes to Vietnamese footballer Tran and her wife for taking a public stance on LGBTQ+ rights, for using their public platform to make a statement in that way.
I'm obsessed with this.
And for having had the courage to do that in a country where that is still a fairly novel idea. Congratulations to the both of them on getting married, even if it was a symbolic marriage. And I really hope that courageous actions by people like those two will help propel progress forward in Vietnam. And that constitutes the end of this week's two-part video series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, maybe comment below on what was your favorite thing that happened in the last week. Go watch my previous video if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!